What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Recruitcast. I'm Jason Suchomel. There's Cole Patterson. I think we're switched up, Cole. Usually I'm on one side on my screen. I'm on the left, you're on the right. So I'll try to not to get dizzy and screw things up too much. But
there we go.
That's going to make it worse, man. But there we go. So big shout out to our friends and partners and sponsors, Prime Shrimp. You see it up at the top there, primeshrimp.com. $20 off your first order. Promo code OrangeBloods. Give it a try. You'll love it. Cole, I'm thinking I might try that garlic herb one tonight. In fact, as I talk that out loud, that sounds pretty good for dinner. But we're back for the Crewcast, Cole. Kind of a weird week. There's not a ton of action going on, but we're going to have a big visitor tomorrow for Texas that we'll talk about. Official visits start this weekend for a lot of schools. I don't think that's the case for Texas. They're going to start the following weekend. But kind of an interesting week. It's been the first half of the week, but it's about to ramp up in a hurry. How are you doing, man? I know you've been busy with some rival stuff, but how's your week going for you, Cole?
Yeah, it's going pretty well. Official visits are about to be ramped up, so I'm sure we'll be pretty busy this month.
Yeah, I told my wife, I said, hey, this weekend, and I might even have some things to go to this weekend. There's a couple camps here in the Austin area, but I said, man, the month of June, don't plan on seeing me much on the weekends because official visits are going to be going like crazy. So it's been fun while it lasted, having about a month off without a whole lot going on the weekend. Yeah. Let's talk not an official visit. One of the big pieces I want to talk about, Katie Paytow, defensive lineman. Cole had to help me with my pronunciation there right before we went live. So thank you. Katie Paytow, defensive lineman DJ Hicks, will be on the UT campus tomorrow. He is the number 2 ranked player in the country, 5-star player, obviously. Rivals rankings are coming out. We'll see if he holds that spot. But big news, obviously, Cole, that he's visiting. I've got it lined up. I'm going to talk to his dad tomorrow after the visit, so we should have some pretty good intel there on the visit to see what they think about the trip to Texas, the new facilities, all that stuff. But your thoughts on Texas getting DJ Hicks in for an unofficial visit on Thursday?
Yeah, it's always big to get, the number 2 player in the nation on campus. Obviously, he was up here at Allen last season. I got a chance to talk to him, get to know him a little bit. Player, really good kid on his shoulders. Getting him back on campus around the coaching staff is pretty big. Obviously, Texas hosted Malik Muhammad earlier in the month, and that kind of got them back in the race. Maybe something like that could happen with Hicks, who a lot of people think, tea leaves are kind of pointing to A&M. Oklahoma's in there. He's officially visiting Michigan State. So getting him back on campus, even if it's just for an unofficial visit, it's always a big sign. Bo Davis has done a good job there. As long as you can get that elite talent on campus, at the facilities, around the other players is huge. So the fact that he I believe he visited A&M today. Is that right? Earlier?
Is it today or is it? I don't even know if it's today or the next day. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think in my head real quick. Regardless, he's supposed to visit A&M as well, if he hasn't already. Can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, they're back to back, but I can't remember if it's Texas then A&M or A&M then Texas. Hey, we got enough job to do worry about when he's visiting Texas, right? So.
Yeah. Then he's set to visit Michigan State too. So the fact that Texas was able to get him on campus in between those, or including those, is pretty big. So we'll see what happens if they can crack an unofficial visit, if they can get him back on campus again. Regardless, it's pretty big to have DJ Hicks on campus.
Yeah, the Malik Muhammad comparison you made is pretty interesting and a pretty good one, I think, because totally different players, obviously. We're talking about a D lineman and a cornerback, but 2 guys that I think Texas was down their list, both of them coming into these visits. I think Texas really did a good job with Malik Muhammad to put themselves in striking distance there. One person I talked to this week thought Texas might even lead for Malik Muhammad coming out of that visit. So we'll see. Hey, can they do the same with DJ Hicks? Because I think you would probably agree. I think Texas is playing from behind in that race. But, hey, man, get them on campus, what should be basically a one-on-one tour with the entire staff. He'll get to see all the new facilities that he hasn't seen before. So, we'll see. Maybe it'll have the same type of impact for Texas to kind of better position themselves in the race for the number 2 player in the country.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like this class, I was just going to add, I feel like this class has kind of been offensive heavy, but if you can get, like Hicks and Muhammad on campus, I can kind of, even out the class, get them in striking distance to be an elite class again. Finished top 5 last year. If you get as much talent, that can go a long way.
Yeah. Another big visit this weekend. It's not directly Texas related, but we're going to talk about
Mhm.
it. Arch Manning taking his first official visit. He'll be at Georgia this weekend. I think we talked about it last week. I think everybody's talked about it with Alabama getting a quarterback commitment. It kind of feels like this is Texas and Georgia. And it kind of feels like these official visits might be the thing that tips this thing one way or another. So, it's not a story we'll be directly covering, Cole, but big weekend for Texas, kind of from a peripheral perspective, right? Arch taking that visit to Georgia. He loves Athens. He likes the staff up there. But if you're Texas, you just kind of got to hope the Arch comes home not riding too high, right? Because then Texas gets their
Yeah.
shot in 2 weeks. But anytime Arch Manning takes a visit, that's worth discussing.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if he's the kind of guy to be too emotional after a visit, but I mean, if you're a Georgia fan, you're probably hoping that it's telling that they're the first OV he's taking. They get the first crack at it. Obviously, Texas will get that shot here in a couple weeks. But yeah, it seems like a Texas, Georgia battle. Alabama still scheduled to get an official visit. He's kind of flirted with LSU and Florida, but this really seems like Texas or Georgia. Both teams will get their crack at him on an official visit. Georgia this week in Texas in a couple weeks and goes. Obviously, elite talent. I think both of us feel good where Texas stands, but I'm sure Georgia feels the same way. So we'll see what happens coming out of this weekend.
Yeah, you certainly, I mean, it'd be stupid to discount Georgia, right? People would laugh if I said, oh, discount Georgia. But I do like Texas' position, but I think it's still pretty close. And it's Arch, man. We're just
Yeah.
everybody, you're just kind of grasping at little clues and little signs and basing it off of, hey, my experience of covering recruiting, this little sign here. You said,
Mhm.
hey, Georgia probably feels good about getting the first visit. We said the same thing about Texas. They got one of it when he was doing one of his rounds of visits. The Texas unofficial, I think, was the first one. We're like, okay, that's a pretty good
Mhm.
sign for Texas. Didn't really matter. No, honestly, I almost think if you're Texas, getting the last official visit may be beneficial. So he'll go to Georgia, like you said, this weekend. He'll be in Austin in 2 weekends. I don't know. Maybe we have a decision from Arch Manning shortly after those visits. Maybe he takes it into the fall. It's kind of been all over the place, the timing there, but things are about to ramp up for sure with the nation's number one player. So, hey, we've touched on the top two
Yeah.
players in the country to
Yeah.
start off this crew cast. So,
Yeah.
pretty newsworthy week after all. I want to bounce around on a couple other topics. I did talk to Spring Decaney wide receiver Jonah Wilson this week. Cole, I ran the story on Orange Bloods today. He is tentatively scheduled to visit Texas the weekend of June 24th, which is kind of their big weekend where they're bringing a lot of guys in. I didn't realize until he told me, Cole, that's the same weekend as a state 7-on-7 tournament.
No, is it?
So, yeah, you and I are going to have to talk and kind of coordinate our schedule for that. Now,
Yeah.
the good news
Yeah.
is state 7-on-7 is usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it is again this year. But he said if his team qualifies for the state 7-on-7, he'll go play. If not, he's going to take an official visit to Texas. I know you've talked to Jonah before. I've talked to him a couple times. We've run several stories on him. He doesn't tip his hand much. I really like Jonah. Super nice young man, but he doesn't tip his hand much. Everything is, I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open. Nobody's standing out.
Mhm.
But I do think, man, just in talking to him, I think he really, really likes Texas. If
Yeah.
this falls the way that maybe Texas hopes and maybe he doesn't make state 7-on-7, he comes up on the 24th. I think Texas is the runaway leader there.
Mhm.
Jonah told me he probably wants to wait to decide, but I think Texas is in a good spot before a potential official visit. I think if they get him on campus, Texas takes a commanding lead. Your thoughts
Mhm.
on wide receiver Jonah Wilson?
No, yeah, I definitely agree. Obviously, there's a lot of receivers that Texas is recruiting. Jonte Cook, Jack West Petaway, Kelly Harrison Pilot, Kyle Parker. But if they push for Jonah Wilson, if they're able to get him on campus and really push for a commitment, I mean, who knows? They could be on commit watch as soon as that weekend, if not, too much longer after that. But yeah, he's a really good player, rivals 250 receiver. He's actually really close with Ruben Owens, who obviously Texas is pursuing pretty aggressively as well. Borderline 5-star running back at El Campo. He said he's thought about playing with Arch Manning and Jonte Cook and those three guys with Ruben Owens, possibly in Austin. He kind of like you said, he's kind of open. Last time I talked to him, he wanted to take some visits out on the West Coast, see some new schools. But
Ohio State's
yeah,
one he routinely mentions to me is Ohio
yeah,
State.
Ohio State's in there. like I said, Rivals 250 receiver. He's got offers from all over the nation, but if Texas pushes for him and they're able to get him on campus, you got to feel good about the chances of adding him to the class.
Yeah, a little bit different receiver. He's 6'4",
Yeah.
different than Jonte Cook and Petaway and Ryan Niblett. So maybe he's a guy that can come in and kind of be that big outside receiver that you got to have probably at least one in the class. Another guy I talked to, Cole, and I'm going to have to read this one, Samu Tua Manu Pepe. I think that's probably pretty close, but we'll just go with it anyways.
Better than what I would say.
Yeah, I almost called him the young man out of Atascocita. Well, he is a young man, but he's young, large man out of Atascocita. Yeah. We were talking about recruiting, of course, and I just talked to him on the phone last night, and I'll have a report on Orange Bloods probably tonight or first thing in the morning. But I said, well, what about visits? He goes, man, I'm not really looking at visits right now. I'm just strictly focused on getting my school stuff in order and getting my body in order. And I said, okay, listen, I know he's a big guy, but he told me he played last year at 415 pounds, wow. Cole. Yeah, he's down to about 370 to 380, kind of fluctuates. But I said, good for you, man. That's a 35-pound loss. He wants to get down to 350. So tip of the cap to Samu for putting in the work, and he's doing a lot of cardio and stuff. His team is starting summer workouts. So I think, he'll get to 350, I think. And I said, well, what do you do well? And he goes, man, I move well for a big guy. And he goes, I can clog up 2 gaps at once. And I said, okay, yeah, probably. And I go, I could think if you get to 350, I said, don't lose too much weight though. He goes, no, man, if I get to 350, I can hit all the gaps. No stopping me then. But he does like Texas a lot. Really likes Oregon too. He's visited Oregon. He's visited UT a couple times. These are unofficial visits, of course. I think Texas Tech is a fringe player there, but this is a guy that I think if Texas pushes, and if he shows Texas that he can keep his body, in the type of shape where they feel comfortable with it, I think Texas has a pretty good shot there. So just a side note, kind of a preview of an update I'll have on Orange Bloods tonight or tomorrow.
Oregon's
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say with a couple of different players in Texas, he included, DJ Hicks, Toviano, Jonte Cook's right? Visit. So they're becoming a factor. So hopefully they don't become a thorn in Texas's side, but obviously something to watch. Or being very similar prospects, which is definitely worth noting.
Yeah, Oregon, they recruit well anyways, but they always recruit Texas pretty well. It's a beautiful campus. They got amazing facilities. Yeah. I kind of wondered with the coaching change up there if maybe that might impact them, but it doesn't seem to be slowing them down so far. They're still getting quite a bit of interest. So I got a list here, Cole, and I want to kind of blow through these pretty quickly, and I got one final question. These are the guys, the 2022 class, the non-early enrollees. Most of them hit campus over the weekend. Some of them, I think, were actually today. A couple of guys told me they're rolling today, but most of them enrolled over the weekend. I'm going to go through this list just real quickly, rapid fire. I want you to tell me if you think they're going to play as true freshmen for Texas or redshirt. When I say play, I don't mean they're going to get one game to get down and cover a kick, okay? I mean they're going to play, let's just call it 4 games.
Meaningful snaps.
Yeah, substantial snaps. Don't have to be starters or anything, but let's just say if they're going to play in 4 games or more. Brennan Thompson.
Yeah, I think he has to.
Yeah, I think so too. Savion Red.
No, I think
receiver probably not. Here's a tricky one. Lance St. Louis, the deep snapper.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go on a limb and say yeah.
He might. Hey, man, your guess is as good as mine, but I should know that. I don't know who they had in front of him, what grade classification he was, but they might throw him to the wolves early. Connor Robertson, the offensive lineman.
I think they'll redshirt him.
I think Connor probably redshirts. He's going to be a center most likely. And
he said he was recovering from some injuries.
He is recovering some injuries, exactly. So I think he's probably a redshirt. Another offensive lineman, Kelvin Banks.
Oh, no doubt, yeah. I think he plays pretty early too.
I do too, yeah. Here's an interesting one. Cam Williams, another offensive lineman.
I think they'll probably take it slow with him as well. If he has to play, they'll obviously do it. But, he's a bigger dude, probably want to get him, a little bit game-ready shape before throwing him out there. But, I know you want it rapid fire. But, with some holes offensive line, there's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, they're going to play, 3 or 4 of these linemen. It's just a matter of you can't play all of them, right? So
yeah.
I'm kind of like you. I'm like, Cam, physically, you can probably go out there and lean on somebody for you for a game or two. But I think he probably redshirts. Nato Umujulu, another offensive lineman.
I think he does. I think he's pretty college ready.
Yeah, I agree with Nato. I think he plays. Malik Agbo, yet another lineman from Washington State.
Like I said, they can't play everybody. I'll lean towards redshirting with him.
Yep, I'm in agreement with you as well. Pretty easy one here, but Devon Campbell, DJ Campbell.
I think the bigger question is if he starts week one. So I
Exactly. Yeah.
think that's the bigger question.
Well put. Yes. Okay. Kicker Will Stone. This is an interesting one.
I can't. I'm not an expert on Texas kickers, but yeah,
Well, they lost their starter from last year, of
that's
course.
right. Yeah,
Uh,
so yeah, I think they give him a shot.
yeah, they got Bert Auburn, who's kicked fairly well, and he's a
Mhm.
walk on, preferred walk on. But I think if Will Stone comes in and he's pretty confident, if he comes in and plays well, he's capable of playing. He might be your starting kicker game one. I
He's
mean,
a
that's not out of the question.
he's a pretty
Um,
highly rated kicker, if I recall.
he is, yeah, he is,
Mhm.
and has good leg talent. Chris Ross, a defensive lineman out of North Shore.
I think they'll redshirt him.
I think so. I think if he would have enrolled early, I might have said
Yeah,
differently, but I think he's probably going to be a little bit behind. Zach Swanson, another defensive lineman out of Phoenix.
uh, I'll lean towards redshirt as well.
Probably redshirt, but man, I got a sneaky suspicion on Zach Swanson that he might be a little more college ready than some realize. We never talked about him because he never talked,
Yeah,
but people that are around him, man, this guy looks the part and plays pretty well. One of our favorites, Jamon Tapp.
yeah. I think Jamon could get a role pretty early. I think he's talented enough to carve out some kind of impact on the defensive line. Maybe not significant snaps, but at least some playing time.
Yeah, I'm torn on that one. They just got so many bodies in front of him. I
Yeah.
think I'm going to go redshirt, but I do agree he has the talent, the pure
Mhm.
talent, to get out there early. An intriguing one, the late addition for Texas, Ethan Burke, the defensive lineman.
I think he's pretty, prototypical redshirt guy. He has a lot of lacrosse background, really athletic dude, but guy that can come in, put some weight on, learn the defense, let other guys, learn from the other guys, and come in and make an impact in year two. I think he a lot of upside, but probably not, year one ready just yet.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Tremendous, tremendous upside, but
Mhm.
maybe not physically developed the way that some of these other guys are in terms of size and strength. A couple DBs, Austin Jordan and Xavier Bryce.
Hmm. I think Jordan probably has a better opportunity of the two. If I had to guess, he played all over the field at a big time program at Denton Ryan. I like how he plays in the secondary. Bryce is a little bit more versatile in the fact that he can play, some linebacker if we need to, some safety. He's played some corner. I think Jordan probably has a slider edge, but I would probably guess they both redshirt.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So, all right, Cole, like I said, this is kind of a hodgepodge recruit cast that we're doing here, bouncing
Yeah.
around. Got one more question for you before I let you go and we sign off. This is Rivals Rankings Week for the people watching, kind of behind the scenes, you and Nick Harris and their national guys, Adam Gordon and everybody else. Like you guys that were on the phone today, I think it goes all week, doesn't it? Correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Yeah. The rest of the league.
Yeah, so you guys are discussing who needs to move up, who needs to move down, who can be bumped up to a 5-star, 4, whatever the case, But
Mhm.
I've heard those. I've not ever been in on those conversations, and I'm thankful because I've heard they could be a beating after a while. So
Yeah.
this is your
Long
first go around.
days.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to hear, Cole. I don't want you to tip your hand too much or give away any big secrets because they always do a big reveal when those rankings are finished. But give me one player who you feel and you lobbied for on the call today should receive a no-brainer bump in the rankings.
I'll give you two if that's okay, and
Sure.
both have Texas offers. First one is Darian Gillette out of Marlin. He's freakishly athletic. Linebacker edge, a little bit of a hybrid, can play multiple positions. Just really athletic, big dude. Looks like $1,000,000. Runs track. We saw him down at Texas Relays in March. Just looks the part in every possible way. I think he has a lot of upside there. And then another guy Texas offered, relatively recently is Calvin Simpson Hunt. He's one of the better DBs in the state. A lot of colleges are pretty high on him. I really like his athletic ability and upside, good size. Yeah, Texas offered pretty recently and could get in the game there. But those are two guys that, and two defensive guys. I know Texas fans want to upgrade the defense. Those are two guys that the Longhorns have their eyes on, and I'm big fans of.
Yeah, good choices. Simpson Hunt, man, he's got a tremendous offer list. I mean, Ohio State
Mhm.
wants you as a DB out of Texas. I'm like, okay, that's all I need to hear, right?
Yeah, it's usually not too bad.
Yeah, that's a pretty good endorsement. I love the Darian Gillette thing. Like, and I'm going to tell two quick stories on Gillette, and
Yeah.
then we'll sign off. And you were standing side by side with me. We saw him. You
Mhm.
said at Texas Relays. This dude, like, how big is he? Cole? I don't have it pulled up. He's like 225 probably, right?
Yeah, he's like 6'2", 6'3",
Yeah, yeah.
225.
And he's
Yeah.
running, I think it was the third leg in the 4x2 at Texas Relays, dude. We're not talking about some small town track meet, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, he like held his own, like more than held his own running I mean, this dude probably needs 2 lanes almost to
Yeah.
run. He's twice as big as some of these other guys out there, but he ran
It's
really
insane.
well. Yeah, so athletically, you're like, whoa, this guy's amazing. Then he comes over right after he ran, and he's doing an interview with me, and I'm guessing you were probably standing there and a few others. And about 3 or 4 questions in, he kind of pauses. He's still breathing hard, man. He just ran. And he goes, I'm going to be sick. And we're like, what? Didn't quite hear him. Like, huh? And he goes, I'm going to be sick. We're like, oh, dude. He walks off about 5 feet away. Sorry, Darren, I don't mean to embarrass you. This is actually a complimentary story. I mean it to be. Loses his lunch, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and we're like, dude, go sit down. Don't worry about the interview. He's like, no, come on. We got this. All right, man. Way to power through. So he earned my respect that day on multiple fronts. So
Good
all right,
dude, great athlete, really good person.
yeah, exactly. Good player and good person. And, I always like talking about the person sometimes more than I
Yeah.
do the player when we encounter quality young men
Yeah.
like that. So, all right, Cole. Well, hey, appreciate you jumping in with me on short notice. The Crewcast Prime Shrimp, guys, check it out. Primeshrimp.com, money back guarantee. You'll love it. Go support them. Support us. Click the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Cole, we'll have like I said, I should have a DJ Hicks update tomorrow, right shortly following his visit in the War Room. So everybody check out Orange Bloods for that. We'll keep an eye on visit stuff this weekend, and then things really ramp up for Texas
A lot going
that
on
following
this
week and all through the month. So we'll have a lot to talk about. But thanks for joining me, Cole. Thanks for everybody for watching. We appreciate your time as always. Go check out our sponsor, Prime Shrimp at primeshrimp.com. Y'all take care. Have a good rest of your week.